My handbag containing my passport has vanished without a trace. In a state of panic, I searched everywhere but couldn't find it. As I did, I could feel the critical gaze of my mother-in-law, Susan. Her expression was one of disapproval, and her smile was sardonic. "You brought this on yourself," she sneered, a hint of mockery in her tone. "A careless wife like you deserves this. We're heading to the USA soon. Consider this our goodbye." Her laughter filled the room, mocking my predicament. At that moment, the harsh reality hit me. I had made a grave error in trusting Susan with my belongings. Her betrayal left me feeling utterly powerless. My name is Deborah. I'm 31 years old, and I've been married to Gabriel for 2 years. While we haven't started a family yet, we've built a content life in a town close to where Gabriel's parents live. Even after our marriage, I continued to juggle my career and household duties, striving to maintain a balance with dedication. It's been 6 years since my father-in-law passed away, leaving Susan on her own. She often visited our home, criticizing my housekeeping skills, which became a constant source of stress. "Why don't you quit your job? As a working mother, your job isn't that crucial anyway. You can't manage both roles effectively, and your housekeeping skills are mediocre at best. Gabriel deserves better," she would often remark, inspecting our floors for dust, then sighing dramatically. "Look at this dust, it's appalling." I confess I'm not the best at housework, but being chastised for not dusting seemed unfair. I cleaned diligently every morning before work, managing our well-being and household. Nevertheless, Susan seemed to relish belittling me, perhaps as her way of coping with stress. Each day felt like an uphill battle. Then, unexpectedly, Susan suggested a family trip. She invited us along with Gabriel's sister's family. Lori, my sister-in-law, is as gentle as Gabriel, and we often enjoyed spending time together at each other's homes. The thought of traveling with Susan filled me with unease. I had often shared with Gabriel her hurtful comments, so when I voiced my concerns about the trip, he offered a more hopeful take. "Mom wants to join us. Maybe she's trying to make positive memories with you. It could be a chance to bridge the gap and build a more open relationship," he suggested with an encouraging smile. "You're right. It's our first trip together. Maybe we'll create wonderful memories and break down barriers," I agreed, buoyed by Gabriel's optimism. Susan took the reins on all the planning, from choosing the destination to mapping out the itinerary, leaving us to adjust our schedules to fit hers. "I wonder where Mom has in mind." "Hopefully it's not too pricey," Gabriel mentioned casually. "She mentioned New Zealand in her email." I sighed, my apprehensions confirmed. Susan had chosen an extravagant international destination without considering our financial situation. "Well, we can't change it now. Mom picked it, so let's go along with her choice this time," Gabriel reasoned. Understanding his perspective, I managed to finance the trip from our savings. Gabriel, Lori's husband, and I synchronized our vacations, and we were soon set to depart. We arrived in New Zealand as planned, and the time flew by as we immersed ourselves in the breathtaking natural landscapes and savored the delicious cuisine. Before we knew it, it was time to head back home. "It was such an amazing trip, I even got quite a tan," Susan exclaimed cheerfully, still enthusiastic even at the airport. "Yes, it was truly fantastic and enjoyable," I replied, trying to match her excitement. However, I couldn't shake a lingering sense of disappointment. "What's bothering you? You seem a bit down," Gabriel asked, noticing my expression. "Well, it's not a big deal," I started, preparing to share my mixed feelings about the trip. Despite the trip's success, I couldn't help feeling disappointed that I didn't connect with your mom as much as I'd hoped. "We hardly had any private moments to talk during the trip," I told Gabriel. He placed a comforting hand on my shoulder and reassured me with a smile. "Don't worry too much about it. We all had a great time together, and that's what counts." His reassurance helped, but a part of me wondered if I was overthinking things. As we navigated the busy airport, Susan suddenly announced, "It's quite crowded here. I need to use the restroom before we board." She turned to me, adding, "Deborah, could you hold my bags for me? Everyone, leave your bags with her and let's go together." She handed me her heavy luggage and quickly joined the others heading to the restroom. "I actually need to use the restroom too," Lori said, noticing I was overwhelmed. "I'll take over once I'm back. Just wait here for me." Not long after they left, Susan returned alone. "That was quick," I remarked, surprised. "It was empty," she replied, looking around. "Now where did you put my bags?" "They're right over there." I pointed to her luggage by her feet. "Why is my expensive bag on the floor? I gave it to you so it wouldn't be set down." "How could you be so careless?" she chided as she picked it up, holding it protectively. I was still burdened with everyone else's bags, making it hard to manage. Susan's tone was sharp and dismissive. "Enough. You're so thoughtless. Why don't you go to the restroom as well? I'll graciously keep an eye on your bags. Just leave them on the floor. Your inexpensive bag will be fine," she stated arrogantly. "Thank you. I'll be quick," I replied, placing my bag on the ground and hurrying toward the restroom, only to find a long line waiting for me. When I arrived at the restroom, Lori came out shortly after. "What about the bags, Deborah?" she asked anxiously. "I left them with Gabriel's mom so I could use the restroom, but it's really crowded in there. This might take a while," I explained, feeling a bit uneasy despite Susan's earlier assurance that the restroom was empty. After what seemed like forever, I finally made my way back. Lori was waiting for me, not wanting to risk getting lost as she often struggled with directions herself. Together, we headed back to where we had left Susan. She was standing there alone, and the men were not in sight. "Thanks for keeping an eye on the bags," I said, scanning the area. Strangely, my bag was missing. "I'm certain I left it right here," I said as I checked all the bags, but mine was the only one missing. "My bags are gone. You were here the whole time, right?" I asked Susan, my voice trembling with panic. "Your bag? I don't know, maybe it was never here," Susan responded coldly, sending a wave of despair through me. "No, I know I left it here right in front of you," I insisted, feeling betrayed. "I didn't see anything." "Don't blame me," Susan retorted dismissively. "I placed it there because you asked me to. What should I do now? My passport was in that bag," I cried out, distressed, my mind racing with what to do next. Susan sneered at me, her smile dripping with sarcasm. "Maybe this is karma for how you treated my bag, tossing it on the floor. A lousy wife like you deserves to suffer the consequences and stay behind in the USA. I don't have time to deal with this. You're on your own or leave without you," she declared callously. "Goodbye," Susan laughed mockingly, which filled me with anger at her callous words. But this wasn't just my problem. My bag held everyone's passports. Without it, none of us could return to the USA. Susan's expression froze in disbelief. "What? Why do you have everyone's passports?" She grasped my arm, her voice rising in alarm. Lori, who had been listening intently, stepped in to clarify. "We were concerned about losing them with all the luggage, so Gabriel took charge of them. You might have forgotten because you were busy, Mom," Lori explained gently. Susan reacted sharply. "Is that so? I must have been distracted and forgot," she admitted, her tone shifting as the gravity of the situation dawned on her. "But why were the passports with you and not with Gabriel? That's odd," Susan accused, her tone sharp with suspicion. "Gabriel had too much to carry, so I've been holding on to them since we left the hotel," I explained calmly, trying to diffuse the tension. Susan's frustration was palpable as she exclaimed, "Why didn't you mention something so important? I had no idea your bag contained everyone's passports. I would have kept a closer watch if I had known." I found it hard to believe her sudden concern. "What do you mean? You took your eyes off my bag even though you didn't know about the passports. Was my bag stolen?" I questioned. Lori, looking pale and alarmed, pressed Susan further. "Mom, please explain. Was Deborah's bag stolen?" "I have no idea if it was stolen. It was simply gone when I noticed," Susan retorted coldly, standing with her arms crossed, unapologetic. "I can't believe this. It's so irresponsible," I said, frustrated. Just then, Gabriel and the others returned, noticing our distressed expressions. "What's wrong? Is everything okay?" Gabriel asked, his worry evident. I quickly recounted the situation, and Gabriel sighed deeply, casting a disappointed glance at Susan. This is serious. We need to search for the bag immediately. Gabriel and I exchanged a confirming glance. I left it right here, Susan. You specifically asked me to place it here. I gestured towards the corner where all our luggage had been placed. It only took us about 12 minutes to return from the restroom. It must have been taken during that brief window. Susan, where were you? I asked, noticing her arms still crossed defensively. I was right here the whole time, keeping an eye on the bags, Susan replied firmly. I wouldn't have wandered off, especially with everyone's important luggage, but your bag was on the edge, out of my direct line of sight. I'm only human. I can't be perfect, Susan said, turning away. Let's file a theft report and check the surveillance cameras. The thief might still be nearby. We should act fast, Gabriel suggested, beginning to approach airport personnel. However, Susan grabbed his arm. Hold on a moment. Filing a theft report seems extreme. It would be more practical and faster to get the passports reissued, she argued. Gabriel shook off her grip, determined. No, we need to act now and cover all our bases. Let's not waste any more time. We decided to file a police report for the security of the passport, after which we could reissue them at the embassy. Reviewing the security footage might also help us recover the missing bag. Lori, agreeing with Gabriel's suggestion, promptly joined in. Absolutely, Gabriel, we need to act fast, Susan replied defensively. She insisted it was all her fault and that she should be the one to find the thief on her own, arguing that police involvement was unnecessary. Her temper flared as she vehemently argued her point. Lori quickly cut in, defending Deborah. That's not fair, Mom. Deborah didn't cause this. It was your responsibility to watch the bags, not hers. Lori defended me, saying exactly what I had wanted to tell Susan. Gabriel supported me too, placing a comforting hand on my shoulder. Deborah is already taking responsibility, Mom. Why are you opposed to reporting the theft? Susan seemed uneasy. I've never dealt with the police before. I'm nervous about it. I think we should try to manage this on our own, she explained. Fine, I'll help look too. Let's split up and see if we can find anything on our own, Susan said, trying to shift the focus back to finding the thief. Just then, a young man approached Susan. There you are. I've been looking for you, he exclaimed, handing over a bag. I found this and thought you might be in trouble for leaving it behind. I'm relieved I found you. Your trip could have been ruined. Stunned, I took the bag from him. Where did you find it? I asked. In the lounge, on a table. I tried to get her attention, but she didn't hear me and walked off into the crowd. I've been looking for her ever since, he explained. We thanked him profusely. Turning to Susan, who was visibly shaken, we confronted her. Mom, what's going on? Why was Deborah's bag left in the lounge? Gabriel asked, his voice shaking with frustration. No need for explanations, Mom. You left Deborah's bag there on purpose, didn't you? And you haven't been watching any of our luggage either, have you? The realization of her oversight and the implications hung heavily in the air. It's unbelievable that you would treat Deborah this way, deliberately leaving her bag in a distant lounge to avoid security cameras. You knew they would reveal what happened, Lori said, her gaze fixed on Susan with unmistakable disdain. I quickly checked the bag's contents. Passports, wallets, and mobile phones were all safe. We were incredibly fortunate that such a considerate person had found it. Relieved, yet seething with anger, I confronted Susan. How could you do this, Susan? Why would you behave like this? I demanded, my frustration clear and palpable. Susan responded unrepentant. She threw my precious bag on the floor, and I was upset. I'm not the villain here. Who would have guessed that this shabby bag held everyone's passports? It was a moment of frustration in the lounge. I didn't leave your luggage unattended, so don't misinterpret my actions, she defended herself defensively. That's enough, Gabriel interjected loudly. Susan, think about how you've been treating Deborah since we got married. I kept hoping you'd change, but I was wrong. I failed to understand the pain you were causing her. I'm sorry, Deborah. Gabriel apologized sincerely, his words bringing tears to my eyes. Gabriel turned resolutely to Susan. Mom, deliberately mishandling someone else's property is akin to theft, whether you realize it or not. Reviewing the surveillance footage will clarify what happened, he stated firmly, his resolve clear. Susan was visibly stunned by Gabriel's words. Wait, Gabriel, you're not seriously considering involving the police, are you? We're family and Deborah is your wife, even if only through marriage. There's no crime in a mother taking her daughter-in-law's bag, Susan pleaded, looking at Gabriel with desperation. Gabriel's expression hardened as he responded bitterly. That reasoning is absurd, Mom. Your first step should be apologizing to Deborah, not trying to avoid responsibility. Using our bond as an excuse is embarrassing for a mother. We won't report this to the police, but this incident has highlighted the need for serious changes in how we handle our family dynamics. Gabriel declared firmly, taking my hand as a sign of solidarity. We're severing ties with you. Don't show your face to Deborah or me again. We'll be taking a different flight home. Please, Gabriel, hold on. This is too sudden. I can't accept this. Give me a chance to apologize and make amends. I'm begging you. Susan pleaded desperately, her voice tinged with remorse. She clung to Gabriel's feet, trying to stop him from walking away. Gabriel, this is disgraceful. Please stop. Lori intervened, her voice breaking as she pulled Susan away, tears streaming down her face. Lori and her husband then escorted Susan away, leaving Gabriel and me alone. Are you sure about this, Gabriel? Cutting ties with your mom? I asked, my voice filled with concern. It's necessary. You're the most important person in my life. I should have protected you better, he replied, embracing me warmly. We managed to book a different flight home, returning to our normal lives without Susan's shadow over us. Lori also decided to distance herself from her mother. We moved far away from Gabriel's family home, completely severing ties with Susan. It seemed Lori had also chosen to keep her distance. 8 months after our trip to New Zealand, I discovered I was pregnant. Susan would never know or meet this child. In our peaceful new town, free from Susan's influence, we looked forward to our future. My only wish is for Gabriel, our baby, and me to live happily together, free from the past's turmoil.